Welcome to the Dr. Nikki Starr Show, a podcast to support you in your spiritual awakening and personal development. As a spiritual teacher, healer, and intuitive coach, my intention is to empower you to live your ultimate potential and your ultimate life. As a former medical doctor and mystic, my role is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to support you in understanding more of your multidimensional aspects. I share on a diverse range of topics, and it's all to support your greatest becoming. My mission is to continue reaching millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind for the creation of the new earth. Thank you for being here.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Today, I'm here with a very special guest, Susie Pearl. She is also a resident of Ibiza, and we recently were connected through a mutual friend. And Susie has such a fascinating story. Her life journey, what she did in her past, her near-death experience, which we will be elaborating on, also the disease she lived in her life and what it taught her, and the powerful tool of meditation to support us in our life, to create, to heal, to evolve. And so, Susie, I'll have you introduce yourself a bit. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks, Nikki. It's great to be here.
Yeah. And so I guess you can start from the beginning. And actually, Susie's also an author. How many books have you written so far?
Quite a few. My first one was on happiness, Instructions for Happiness. And that was it was a sort of early manifesting book, a book on manifesting, how to run your brain for success. Actually, the title was Instructions for Happiness and Success. So it's how to really manifest and create the kind of life that you want. And I've always been interested in mind and how the mind works and the power of the mind and the invisible nature of the power that we have. I've always been interested, and I've connected with amazing people through my career who have taught me a great deal about the mind and how to use it well.
And so the books came after your whole NDE experience and your brain tumor. But before that, you were in the music world, in MTV, and working with like artists and celebrities and all kind of crazy scene. I know we mentioned the other day, the habits people had, not really meditating.
No, I had a very fast-paced lifestyle. I was looking after head of celebrity PR agency in London, and I worked for Sony Music, and then where I met some big artists, and I also worked at MTV, where I ran the music awards and the video music awards in New York. And there I got to look after, the first job I had was looking after Michael Jackson, and we just got on well. So I found that I could work really well with artists. I got them and they got me, and I just talked to them like normal people and said no a lot, and they seemed to like that. So I ended up working with Madonna, the Spice Girls, Michael, and people like this. And so I had a very high octane, busy life, enjoyable. From the outside, it looked the best life. I was in Hollywood all the time, on jets all the time, and it looked fantastic from the outside. The inside, I was suffering with stress. Everything I did would impact on major headlines, and I had to pull stuff out the news or put stuff in the news and all of this sort of thing. It was very impactful on me, and it took me a few years to realize that, oh my gosh, I'm on this treadmill that's harsh, and it made relationships really difficult because I was never in one place for very long. And then I had a son, which changed everything, and I wanted to get out of the business and just be a mom. So that was really nice. And then I came to Ibiza, and I loved the fact that here I could connect with people who were really interested in the big picture and big levels of consciousness. And it was here in Ibiza that I started to notice I lost my memory, and I couldn't remember things, couldn't remember where I parked my car. And then a brain tumor was identified. And it was a shock to everyone, and I was given 3 weeks to live.
Wow, I just got the goosebumps. So it sounds like I think I would have thought that you got the brain tumor and then that's what had you leave the whole MTV Hollywood world. But it sounds like you already knew that it was time to exit even before you found out about the brain tumor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's quite a big gap. And when I decided to move to Ibiza, and I got rid of everything in London, sold everything, came with one bag each with me and my son.
Aww.
No plan, no job, nowhere to live. And we just were courageous and decided, okay, let's take a new life. Because the last one I really needed to exit. I knew there was something very high in my powerful field saying, get out. So I did. And, we took a gamble. And it was the best gamble that we've ever taken. My son still says to me, Mom, that, well done for doing that, because that was a big thing. I didn't realize when I was 13 what you were doing. But it was, a massive radical retrack on life, leaving something that looked amazing to go to something I didn't know what it was going to be. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And so I saw that you have an ebook that is about what you learned, I guess, through what's the ebook called? I'm blanking on the name at the moment.
Yeah, it's the things I learned when I died.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the brain tumor came first, though. So do you feel like you were also learning in that time? And the reason why I ask is because there are some of us, and I was part of an esoteric school, and there's talk of how the Holy Grail, which is, we think of Indiana Jones, we think of a chalice, that it's this force, it's this powerful object. People think of it as an object, but it's really a force that catalyzes change and transformation and spiritual awakening in people. And it was said when I was at this esoteric school that the new Holy Grail is now disease. That disease in any form, could be cancer, could be a tumor, could be autoimmune disease, could be a skin rash, is serving in humanity as a force for people to change their life, wake up spiritually, evolve. And we know why. I mean, for many different reasons, and we can get into that. And I'm curious if when you found out you had 3 weeks to live, if it, looking back, did it start to shift things for you?
Oh God. Yeah, I can easily see my life in two parts: before I got this tumor and after. Things changed completely. My relationship with the world, myself, nature, everything changed. I see the world very differently now, and I can bless that disease as one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. People get confused when I say that. They go, really? And they said, I'm sorry you had to go through that. And I said, I would say, no, I'm delighted. It really was my catalyst for transforming and healing a lot of things that needed to be healed. For example, the father of my son and I were at war for years, I couldn't, we couldn't talk to each other. We would really have a difficult relationship. And I thought, and this is an important relationship, this is the father of my son, and I thought it could never get healed. And when he and my brothers came to my bedside when I was in hospital with all these tubes and drips and nurses running around frantic, he cried, I cried, and there was a healing, bam, right there, that I thought could never happen in my lifetime. And it was this disease and the prospect of me dying that brought everyone to a place of absolute forgiveness, a place of, come on, we just need to live life and love, not hate, and be angry. So it was a massive transformation. And also when I was going through my near-death experience and I'd left my body and I was looking down on myself, I realized many things. Astronauts say this, when they go
the overview effect.
I saw the big picture and I thought, oh my gosh, and I have to change things in my life to correspond with what I now know. And I love sharing it. The other thing I want to add is that when I was going into the brain scanner for the first time, when I was having my MRI scan in the Rosario Hospital in Ibiza, I went in, and as I was going in, I was surrounded by this golden orb. I felt I was surrounded by angels and helpers and guides. And I'd never had this experience before. This golden orb arrived, and within it, I had this very clear indication of the storyline. I actually was praying and saying, why am I going through this? I'd actually sat on my bed to meditate and said, why am I going through this? Please give me a clue. And the answer I got was very clear. It said, you're being given this experience so that you can communicate and talk about it and inspire millions of people around the world with a book and a film. And there are 3 scans. The first one is going to be terrible news. Expect terrible news. The second scan, it will have shrunk. The thing will have shrunk. And the third, you will be clear to leave and go happily and healthily. So I believe this because I was told by this very heavenly force. I had no doubt at all. And I began to share this story at the time, and people thought, oh my gosh, poor thing, she's gone nuts. She's really lost it now. So I realized I have to be very careful. So here we are 5 years later. I'm beginning to talk about it and I'm writing a book about it.
Wow. So it's only 5 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, you said something that I think this is the point of the podcast. Listen, like viewers, listeners, please listen to what she's saying about the forgiveness, about the healing that can happen in our relationships. We don't have to wait till we're on our deathbed. Sometimes if you think of the person that's upsetting you the most, maybe it's your family member, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's someone, your sibling, someone who's near and dear. Think if they were to die tomorrow, is this how I want to spend our life together? Like you can make the changes now, the compassion, the forgiveness, the love. Choose to let go of the resentments and the anger. That's all poison for yourself. And of course, the dynamic. And so I feel may you walk away from today and maybe send a message to someone, a message of love, of gratitude, or even of forgiveness to someone that you've been feeling angry or resentful towards. And remember, everyone is doing their best. We're all having a human experience. And sometimes we can just learn from listening to another story. And so I love, Susie, how you talked about kind of like the mystical experience you had going through this journey. And I also, that's why I called this podcast Near-Death Experiences, because I also had one right around the time of my spiritual awakening. And for me, I was at Burning Man. I got heat stroke and I kind of just passed out and I was in the infirmary. And I had this experience of, I don't know if you had this too. Were you able to see like your past and your future? Like almost like I was able to see myself getting lifted out of Black Rock City and like seeing the funeral, and my whole family was like showing me like what would happen if I would die. And then it flashed. I had the flash of the movie, like all the events happen. I don't know if you had that too when you went. But for me, it was the love of my family, both those who passed, like my great grandmother came in like a really strong guide, and even the love of those that were still alive, that were like, it's not time. Like you have this whole, similarly, there's like a whole mission for you to do. And it was actually after that moment that my spiritual gifts came online in a bigger way. Like before that, I had left Western medicine. It was also similar. Like before that, I was a Western medical doctor in New York City, went to NYU for medical school, was working at Bellevue Hospital, NYU Hospital, fast-paced life, had a bit of awakening, left. I was teaching yoga, but I hadn't yet been using the energy gifts and all of that. And it was almost like coming back. I was like granted more access to these gifts that I was born into a lineage of. And for me, it was the energies that I connected to in that other space. And it was also for me like super peaceful energy. Like the suffering I was experiencing from the heat stroke, like all that went away. And I was like, oh, it's so nice here. And for me, I feel like it's an opportunity for people to remember that it's kind of always here and available. Like this other dimension is with us. You said you were in the MRI scan, this gold orb came, and through the power of meditation, I feel like we can really access it. And so you mentioned you meditated. Like, were you meditating before the tumor and all of that as well? And then everything got amplified after? Or was it kind of like, I guess if you want to share a little bit more about maybe the amplification of like supernatural abilities, because I know that meditation does that for us as well.
I'm a big fan of meditation. Years before, one of my very good friends who had her leg amputated when she was 13, cancer, had a very difficult life getting around on crutches. she and I were at my house, and I was sobbing my eyes out. My relationship had just bust, and I was a new mom. I was sad. And she left a little card of a meditation teacher on my table. And as she was left, she said, Suze, give this person a call, learn meditation. It's going to help you. It's helped me. And I saw her hobbling out on her crutches, thinking how hard her life is with this disability. And I made some tea, and I kept looking at the card. And in the end, I called the person on the card, booked in, learned meditation. I can honestly say it was the greatest skill I have ever learned. I learned TM with the TM meditation. I tried a few different types, but that was the one.
Transcendental meditation.
Transcendental. And that was the one that really worked for me. I'm a very active mind. I thought, oh my gosh, I can't calm my mind and focus on one thing for very long, or certainly keep my eyes shut and not fidget for very long. I had all these things that we all have. When I learnt TM meditation, the first time I went in and meditated, it was like fireworks going off in my mind. And I had this massive feeling, oh my God, you've come home. This is what you should be doing. And it just calmed me. And I was going through massive trauma at the time. And it just calmed my nervous system, allowed my physiology to relax, and made me much more creative, made my ideas come into form and order. It had huge benefits. And I got connected with the David Lynch Foundation. And for many years, I've been working with the David Lynch Foundation, and its mission is to get meditation out to the world, to anybody who wants to learn it. And I feel like that's the biggest, as a warrior, a peace warrior, and someone who wants change for good, this is the best way we can do it, is teach people how to meditate. It's a life changer. I do it every day. I do it twice a day, in fact. And I find if I have any ailment, I feel that I can feel my body shifting, and I can ask for particular things, and asking is given every time. If you do it from a pure state, you can create amazing, miraculous things. It was in meditation that I had my near-death experience. I sat on my bed, began to meditate, and I felt this. I had this intuition. I had this feeling that I'm going to die today. So I went from my hospital bed to the nurses' station just near in the ward, and they were having their daily meeting. And I said, could I butt in? And they said, what is it, Susie? And I said, I'm going to die today. Could you keep an eye on me? And they kind of went, oh, don't worry. Well, we've got you covered. We come in every half an hour and check you. And I went, no, I really do know. Oh, look, there's a little beautiful thing that just grew down there. Not a coincidence, by the way. And I told them I'm going to die. And so they said, right, we'll look after you, don't worry. So I went back to my bed, sat on my bed, and as I was sitting there to meditate, I closed my eyes, got into the zone, and I felt my spirit being tugged up through my body, and it's like having a hoover on my head, sucking out my spirit from my body. I was like, oh, what? Leave my body. And actually I wasn't scared. It was fine. And indeed, my spirit went up through the crown of my head and out. I went out into the universe and began to float and look down on myself. And there is no time up there. You know, you talk about, are you going to be present? You're talking, thinking about the future, thinking about the past. We'll speak more about that. But at that moment, there is no time up there. And I began to be part of the cosmos and part of everything. And once that happens, you can't unlearn that. And that's a powerful effect to know that we are actually not, I'm not Susie Pearl in this body. I'm Susie Pearl, this spiritual being. And yeah, I've got a body right now, but later on I won't have a body, but I still will have this spirit, and I will still be this form of consciousness. It's hard to explain because our brains are not kind of geared to think of life in these terms. But once we get that sense that we are so much more than our bodies, we are this incredibly powerful, conscious being where I believe anything is possible. We have this incredible power within us. And it was kind of set free and let loose when I was able to go out of my body. And it gave me a great deal of freedom and excitement because we can do anything. We literally can do anything. And I got the downloads on that, and I got the permissions on that. So when I came back in, that I was asked, do you want to come back into your body? And it felt like a one-time choice. It was a one-time choice.
One-time
I
offer.
could say yes or no, but that was a definitive. So I'm a mum, and I had a young boy to look after in my soul care. So it was a no-brainer. Yes, I want to come back. And the minute, Nikki, I said, yes, I want to come back, boom, white flash, back in my body with a new operating mental software system. I saw everything differently. And that was the minute and the moment when I healed, and my tumor left, and there's no scarring. There was no sign that there was ever a tumor there. And the doctors did an MRI at that point. And the doctor who came in, he said, I've been in oncology for 40 years. I have never seen anything like this. There is, it's gone. There's no scarring. We have no explanation. I don't have any rationale for this. And we don't talk in medical terms about miracles, but this looks like a miracle to me. And I said, oh, that's amazing, because I am in the business of miracles. That's my business. So it was truly a miracle moment, and absolutely floored all the doctors who couldn't understand it, and the people around me. So I had to be careful how I spoke about this, because I didn't want to be seen as someone who'd gone crazy, talking about angels, talking about instant healing, talking about miracles happening. I didn't want to be that person who was judged badly. So I had to put it in special terms. I began telling a few people, and I got a response that wasn't so great. So rolling eyes, going, oh, bless her, she's really, really lost it now. And I didn't want to be medicated and have my door locked and the key thrown away. I wanted to get out of this hospital as soon as possible. So I zipped it and kept it to myself, and learnt to be careful about how I express this. Now, with this space of time and the fact I am free, and I've just written a book, and I've written many books, and I'm clearly not crazy. I've had a very extraordinary career. So people go, okay, she can't be that crazy because she's done all that. So it's an extraordinary thing. And my joy in life now is to share this information, because we needn't have fear. We are wholly looked after. Our minds are powerful. Whatever we think about and create as intentions and goals get created, providing we don't have belief systems to stop that. We can live in joy and bliss. Indeed, we are meant to be here, being happy, being blissful, being joyful, being kind to each other, being forgiving to each other. The idea of being angry with other people is just a poison we're swallowing for ourselves. So strategically, it doesn't make any sense to be annoyed and angry with anyone or the world. And everyone is doing the best they can. There was a lot of family trauma. I'm very interested in family constellations and the constellations and energy systems of families. And my father, for example, lived a double life. And he had my mum at home, kids, and then he had a girlfriend for many years elsewhere. And I ended up meeting her once. I went to her house. I walked in, the same piano that we had at home, the same artwork by the same artist, same kind of sofas, weird double life. And I ended up getting engaged to a guy who's also living a double life. So we can see, and I've had 3 double lifers in my experience, guys who are having double life. So the chances of replicating that 3 times or even once is billions to 1. So if we bring to the party the concept that we're all doing the best we can, and there is patterning through the generations, it kind of makes sense. So there's no point in being angry and cross to anyone. Let's forgive and be kind.
Yeah, wow, you just shared so much and so beautifully. And yeah, and I think what you're saying about being mindful of how we're talking about things, and I know that I was destined to get my MD for this very reason, that when I speak on miraculous topics or grace or the divine or energy healing, that it doesn't sound so woo-woo. so that people realize that even like meditation is a form of energy healing, in my opinion. And it's actually like an act of grace. Like a meditation practice can be like a therapist for yourself. And even as you mentioned these patterns, like fascinating that you had this experience of these things multiple times. And I do feel like meditation can help us unravel patterns within ourselves. And I feel like almost like you were chosen in a way. I think that you had this practice behind you, this meditation practice, because you already started to develop so much self-awareness. So you could feel all these things happening to you or receive this orb and these angels communicating with you because you are already tapping into the more of all that we are, the energetic space, the multidimensional space. And I think it's beautiful, the life journey that you've had, because in a sense you were someone that the masses could relate to, working with Michael Jackson and Madonna and MTV and living a stressful, fast-paced life. And then you chose change, and now you're making something of your life that, of course, before you could say it helped people of entertainment, but now it's kind of like the deeper work, through the books. And
yeah, I'm definitely here to share this extraordinary story. And it wasn't easy to go through, of course. I thought everyone around me thought I was going to die. I didn't at all. And I had that belief that I was going to get through this. And if I didn't, it doesn't matter anyway. I have no fear of death now, by the way. I've seen the other side. The other side is beautiful. And I want to give comfort to people who are maybe having people pass close to them or facing death themselves. It's not a fearful business. It's quite the reverse. It's blissful. It's beautiful. When we leave our body, it is divine. And it's called heaven for a reason. It feels like heaven. It's amazing. Yeah. There's no stress there. Yeah. And the choice of coming back, I came back for my son. If I didn't have a son or didn't have someone who really needed me here, I wouldn't have come back.
It's very fascinating, because similar for me, it was like the love of my family that was the pull that brought me back. And every time I've shared that story, it's always about, it was love. Love was the frequency. So they say like love is the fabric of creation. It's the thing that connects us all. And that's literally what I feel was the thread that was pulling me back into this life. And I'm curious about the books. Did you start writing them before or after?
I was an author before.
So it was
2020 when I first had my first book out. So I was a writer then. And when the angels told me that they were giving it, when I asked why am I having this heavy storyline, they said, because you're a writer and you've got a platform and you can write about this. So I had, books on happiness and creativity. I'd just done a book with David Lynch, collaborating with David Lynch, who supports my work, about the art of creativity, how to be creative, how to get in the flow. And I actually wrote that in my hospital bed with tubes coming in. When I was ill.
So you wrote the first book when you were ill?
No, before.
Okay.
It was before. The first one was way before, years before. Then I got a book deal.
What's the title of the first one?
Instructions for Happiness.
Okay. And then the second one was the creativity?
That was the fourth one, but nearer the time of just before I got ill, I landed this book deal for the creativity book, The Art of Creativity. So I was writing that. I remember calling up my publisher and saying, I'm in hospital with brain cancer, but don't worry, I'm going to get the book done. I remember her thinking, oh no, oh bless, we won't ever see this book. And it was fantastic, because what happened was all my channels opened and I became this vessel for amazing ideas. So that book is written with my channel wide open. And I think it's, I read The Artist's Way and was inspired and wanted to do a modern take on it. And I open the book, I talk about meditation, the power of connecting with ourselves deeply and the level of creativity that gives us. And all the great creatives I know, Paul McCartney, TM meditator, David Lynch, TM meditator. These great creatives who are known in our generation for amazing creative work, they're meditating. And they're meditating to connect to this big, big, big force. And within that big force gives us ideas, gives us synchronicities, gives us health, ability to shed disease, get healthier. So if someone was to say to me, okay, from all this journeying, what's your big piece of advice? I would say meditate. Don't even, just if you're not meditating, start. It's never too late.
Absolutely.
Do it and get a good teacher, and climb in and get in. And you will always be very grateful for that.
Absolutely. And there's a few things I wanted to drive home that you said. One being, there's like no excuse, like you were on your deathbed and you still wrote a book on your deathbed.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a testament to like really find what you love and do that, because even on your deathbed, you won't be able to resist. But also, like, it's really choice and free will that we really get to decide how we live every moment. And we can have pity parties for ourselves, or we could choose, like, I'm going to make the most of this life. Even till my last breath, I'm going to make the most of this life.
We have to do that. We're here to do that. We're not here to moan, groan, be miserable. That is not the point of being a human being. Look at us. We are this incredible billions of cells. And we are magical and a total miracle, sitting here breathing, oxygen flying around the thing, having thoughts and ideas, feeling friendships, all of these incredible things. Yeah. That's not by accident. We have to really realize every day. One of the things in my books I talk about now is make every day count. Every single day. I woke up this morning and said to myself, this is going to be the best day of my life.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And let's do that every day. Have the best day of our lives every day. Because there is no tomorrow. In the quantum field, everything's happening at the same time. There is no tomorrow. There's no yesterday. Also, if we hang out in yesterday, no. And hanging out too far ahead in the future, no. Be present. And this is another thing that meditation gives us is the sense of being very present in this moment, right here, right now. One of the wonderful things that happened when I got ill, there were many things that were good, as I lost most of my memory, and still my memory is not very good. I can't really remember. If you ask me what I did yesterday morning, I can't really remember. But the upside to that, and there's always an upside. The upside is I'm present. I'm here right now with all of my energy to share and interact with. I'm not thinking about what I've got to do next when I leave or yesterday. I'm not thinking about that. I'm here. And if we live life very present, there's no need to worry, because actually right now is always perfect.
Exactly. Beautiful. It's a beautiful way to end this. And before we go into the bonus content, where Susie's going to guide us through a meditation, obviously we're speaking on meditation, so we felt like it would be beautiful to guide you through something. Susie, where can people find you? We're going to include all the links to her books and everything inside the comment section, but where can they find you?
Yeah. So check me out on my website, which is susiepearl.com. And there's a book section with all my books, and you can get some of my books on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and places like this, and Waterstones and big bookstores. And you can also get them on my website. And I put everything there, really. So that's a good place to meet me.
Beautiful.
And Instagram as well.
Yeah. And you're Susie.Pearl?
I'm Susie Pearl X
Susie Pearl X.
On Insta. Yeah.
Beautiful. So thank you so much for being here, Susie. And we'll see you all inside the bonus content. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Please like this podcast and share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Subscribe to the podcast to receive bonus content, and remember, every Monday the video version goes live on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on the ascension path with me and for doing this great work.